Pretty sure we've all had this feeling. You find yourself in the main menu after a DMZ lobby where you just got absolutely rolled. And those rare occasions where you think to yourself, maybe if I just played that a little bit different, maybe if I just did something else, I would have won that fight. I wouldn't be here in the main menu crying. In the video, I'll be giving you guys the guidelines myself and my team follow for almost every encounter. And further down the video, I'll show you how we actually implement these guidelines into our fights. So number one, you want to start every fight from a relative distance. You do not want to start the fight being completely surrounded by the enemy team, because that's not going to get you anywhere besides back to the main menu. Number two, high ground is one of your best friends. Problem with high ground that lots of people do not understand is that there is high ground and there is skyline. Skyline, when you place yourself on the horizon line of whatever you're standing on and the sky. Number three, always be aware of other teams around you. Number four is go on the offensive, so push an enemy team only when you have an advantage, whether it is something as light as cracking a player's armor, flashbanging them, and of course, if you get a knock, that is one of your best opportunities to push. Number five, make sure you know your entrances when you're on the offensive. You want to make sure that if the enemy team is in a building, behind a wall, in a car, wherever the enemy team might find itself, you want to know your entrances to their position and make sure that you're not just getting yourself killed. So if they're in a building, try enter from the roof, from the balcony, from a staircase they might not know. If you go in from the main door, you are going to get up. Number six, group up, because numbers is what wins in Call of Duty. Let's say your team is on the defensive. One of your teammates got cracked. One of your teammates got knocked. Best thing you can do is probably group up, try res your down teammate, try cover your friend that is getting armored up. Number seven, when on the defensive, make sure you know your exits. You don't want to be stuck in a dead-end room with 3, 4, 5, 6 people ready to absolutely you. The reason you want to know your exits is so if you get pushed, you have a way to get out of the situation. Number eight, king of, I think, any fight I've ever had is communication. Whether it is through a ping with random players, or in Discord with your friends, or even an open mic in the lobby, communication is what is going to win you almost every fight. Now, if you are paired with the random that does not shut the f*** up, and you know that communication isn't going to help him, just mute him. Now to show you guys how I use these guidelines in actual fights. In this situation, we're just refueling our helicopter, vibing, and we end up getting shot at. So first thing I do is I communicate with my team, aka Frost, what I know, which is I'm being shot at by an armed car. I know nothing else, that is all I know. Once I start getting shot at, is getting myself into cover, make sure there is something between me and the enemies. At this point, since there's most likely going to be a close quarter fight, I'm changing my weapon from the sniper to the Lackman SMG, because that sniper rifle is not going to be helping me in any way right now, especially in a closed environment. I notice I have anti-armor rounds in my inventory, so why not use them right now? I'm going to be putting them into the weapon that's most likely going to help me in a closed environment, so the Lackman over the AK. I go outside to scout, since I know that the LTV is no longer on me, but it is on Frost. So just to be able to get a view on the enemies. I notice a player jumping out of the car. So the first thing that I have to do here is communicate to Frost that there is a player running towards him. So his priority is automatically that player instead of the car. I know that my priority is solely the car, and I'm not going to be having backup from him until he's taking care of that player. At this point, of course, I want to get cover, and I have to know my entrances and exits. So I know players can come in from any one of these 3 doors. Best thing I can do is close the door so I can have sound cue whether they come in or not. The reason I stay inside such a closed environment, and quite honestly an easy environment to kill me, is solely because they only have doors as entrances. And you can use doors as funnels. If 1 or 2 players come into a door, I know exactly where to shoot. Therefore funneling them straight into my bullets and making the fight 10 times easier for me. And of course, because if I go outside, I'm going to have no cover. Hearing footsteps around me, seeing the car on the map, I know that people are going to start being more offensive. So I go towards the entrance that I know they're most likely going to use based off the car's location. I kill the player that's funneling himself through the door, and I change positions while armoring up. The reason you want to change positions after killing someone is because any intel they might give to their team on you will at that point be false intel. He's telling them that I'm probably inside and that I'm cracked or whatnot. That's why I'm moving outside and trying to get information on the enemy team. I notice the glint of a sniper. This automatically negates any possibility of me going to the front side of the gas station unless, I want to fucking die. Knowing this, I'm going to have to play inside. In the meantime, Frost is busy telling me with his pings where players are. Frost manages to identify 5 players in the LTV, which is massive information for us. Now, thanks to communication, I know that there is a player on Frost. I know there is a player between me and Frost. 1 is down and 1 is sniping. So we know the location of 4 players. We're missing 1 more. So of course, should I get this intel? I try looking around. Thank Jesus I see that shadow. Get the kill as fast as possible and then get back to cover. Now, our total kill count is at 3. Frost killed 1, I killed 2, we're missing 2 players. A sniper and the guy on the ping. Knowing the amount of players that are still alive and running about, the best thing I can do is get to Frost instead of allowing him to die by himself and putting myself into a 1v2. We know that one person is sniping on the dunes, so he's most likely not going to move positions. So I get to Frost and we get into a defensive position. We have information that one of the 2 players is running far around us to flank and the other one's sniping, of course, therefore putting them at a massive disadvantage because of the distance between each other. At this point, we decide to start focusing the sniper, but of course together. Frost is busy moving to have sights on the sniper from the left, and I will stay here to have sights on the right, therefore giving this player a lot less room to get cover. I knock him, he gets a self-res up, that is why I'm not pushing. Frost then ends up knocking him again, and knowing that the 2 players are so distant from each other, I decide to push, and I also have a sniper covering my back. Once I finish the player, I'm going to get cover, and I notice that Frost is knocked. Immediately ask for communication on the situation. He pings me the location of the enemy player, and he is behind cover, therefore I do not need to go res him, he can take care of it himself. I start getting a little bit closer with the push, trying to figure out where I can get in from, but of course not too much. I'm giving Frost enough time to get himself back on his feet and fully kitted up. This is where I start looking for entrances. I'm well aware that if I run down here to my right, I'm going to have absolutely no cover. If I run to the left, I'm in the middle of the street. Best thing I can do is get into this window, make sure I'm completely covered, and get onto high ground. Once on high ground, still have information where the player is, because you know, Frost is a f***ing spawning god. Frost gets a knock for like the 20th time. I just push like the lazy piece of shit I am, and then empty a magazine into this guy, knocking him once again, allowing us to be the victors of this 2 versus 5. In this situation, we were just running about, minding our own business, noticed that we were getting hunted, until we spot a player on the radio tower. You know what? Why don't we just kill him? We end up taking the fight, of course, because we're 2 snipers versus 1. He hadn't even noticed us. This is probably one of the easiest situations we could be in. But we did notice that he was shooting at someone. That's giving us information that there is a third party. Once we've confirmed that we've killed the guy, now we just need to figure out what he was shooting at. This is where Frost manages to ping the enemy location, therefore finding the third party that the first guy was shooting at. We decided to take the fight because of the high ground, but the problem with this high ground, as you'll see now, is that we're skylining. If the people look directly up at us, we have nothing covering us. We can get easily shot and easily spotted. At this point in time, I decide to change my high ground so I'm not skylining and get a little bit closer in case I want to use my SMG. Of course, I don't deploy my parachute because this is an extremely intricate tactic. It allows you to get to the ground a lot faster than parachuting. I swear to God, it's not because I forgot to press parachute. After this little incident, Frost still communicating that he's getting focused by the players, therefore I've got complete liberty to shoot them whenever the hell I feel like. Pushing out on them, I decided to use whatever I have in my inventory at the time, which happens to be a cluster bomb. Frost pings a location and he tells me that there is another enemy player that just jumped onto my location, but he fell down. So knowing that this man's below me, I decided to finish his friend and now I'm looking for him on the right hand side. At this point, we know that there's 3 dead players. The first one that the tower guy killed and the 2 we just killed. So this should be the end of the fight. But, as you can clearly see in the right hand side of my screen, these people are still talking and they were communicating to a 4th player of our position. So, not knowing where this guy is, I decide to completely armor up and try to get myself back to Frost, but I get caught out of position. Clearly this little rock does not cover me enough and I start crying like a little bitch. At this point in time, we know that it's a 1v1 and we get Frost's perspective on this. Of course, he implements everything I do. He keeps the high ground, he has the mountain behind him, so he's not skylining, making it a lot more difficult for him to be spotted. He tries to finish him off, he gets the knock and he decides to push based off of 2 things. Number 1, the player is knocked and behind cover, so he wouldn't be able to finish him. And number 2, he has cover if he pushes. Why? Because he has a train. So he tries to finish the kill here, trying to do some optic phase shit, doesn't manage. So he goes with his primary plan, which is to get on the train, give himself cover, get himself some distance from the player, and not putting in just a 1 versus 1 in the middle of nowhere. Still has information on where the player is because he is in the middle of nowhere, and Frost has cover. At this point, once he has enough distance, he can now start flanking the enemy player. I communicate to Frost where the 2 bodies are, them being one to his right and one further to the left. I communicate this because that is most likely where the enemy player is going to be going. So he tries to get himself in the trajectory between the player's bodies and the player. Goes over the hill, kills the guy coming straight towards him, didn't even really have to do much. Quite cool. Reses me like the little bitch ass princess I am, because I deserve to be resed. If he had lost that fight, I probably would have sworn at him for the rest of the day. This fight is where we have to play far more defensively because we start off the fight with 1 less player, Frost dying in the middle of the road like an absolute baboon. We managed to kill one of the players, but we have absolutely no intel on the rest of the team. That's why we use the UAV here to try to get some intel. I hear glass break next to me at this point. That is why I'm far more cautious, and if glass breaks, I know that's a player, not AI, so automatically that ping to my right the lower side of the minimap is going to be a player. Once I have this intel, I decide to start chasing him because I notice he's running away. So whenever I start shooting, I'll be shooting him in his back. Therefore, I automatically win the fight. Once I got the kill, I'll of course start moving, so any information relayed back to his team is not going to be accurate. I loot the body because I know no one's close by. At this point, I'm being communicated by my team that there were 2 snipers. One in each tower. We have one in the radio tower, one on the water tower. I noticed the glint to the left on the radio tower, so I want to try close the distance between me and the snipers. Of course, not putting myself in the middle of the road, and I need cover. So I look for possible entrances I have, which happens to be this building. Once I get inside the building, I try scoping out the situation, try to figure out if I have a couple of windows I can look at. The second sniper apparently changed his position to be on my roof. I break the window to make him think that I'm going to be jumping out of the building and be behind him, where I'm actually running up the staircase like a hooligan. I get told that the player is knocked, so this should be an extremely easy kill for me. All I have to do is get vision on him and he dies. At this point, after brutally missing my knife, I shoot him like a civilized human being. Now we know that there's only one player left. That's what we know based off of intel. Managed to get the knock, getting quite cocky, just gonna re-arm up, not even gonna give myself completely heal up. I'm gonna try kill this guy. But because this game is made with potatoes, that hit marker didn't mean shit apparently. Now I know that there's 2 of us shooting at him. The second I take cover, Cryport tells me that now he is being focused. Knowing this, I immediately re-peek because of course I'm gonna have priority on this kill since I'm not being focused. At this point, we think we've killed absolutely everybody. Besides for one thing, if you notice on the minimap, there is a pleading symbol. 2 little hands next to an SUV to my left. This man is pleading for help. So we know that there is the body and that is the second body. So we think everyone's dead. But the pleading disappears. Something's up here. Either they quit or they got rezzed. So I automatically think they quit, but the body's still here. So clearly he got rezzed. I go back to the SUV. I think we murdered them. But for some reason, my OBS stopped recording at this point. So I'm going to say that we murdered them. And we're just going to call that a day. Bofrost back up. That was a good fight. That was a good fight. In this very short fight that I'm about to show you, there were a couple of things here that I had to do to get myself an advantage. I'm going into a room completely by myself. My teammates are nowhere close to me, as you can see on the minimap, and I see one player. I have absolutely no idea if it is 1, if it is 2, if it is 3, or if it's one of those disgusting 6 men. Knowing that this guy is just looting there, I knock him. Since I knocked the guy, that is a pretty big advantage. And now I'm going to double flashbang them so I can enter into a funnel doorway, but have a possibility of winning the fight. These players being completely flashed and me being the absolute god that I am, I do not even bother aiming, I just hold down the trigger button and absolutely disintegrate them. Of course, no disrespect was given in side chat, I was calling them beautiful human beings. I honestly hope this video helps you guys in some way or another. Maybe it gave you a different perspective on how to take fights, maybe it gave you a different perspective on how other teams take fights, maybe you noticed that you would have done something different. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if it helps you at all. Hope everyone has a great day, and yeah, don't, I mean, you can be toxic, but not too much.